This is Andrew Aversa with Impact Soundworks. And today I'll be showcasing our new Javanese Gamelan virtual instrument. This breathtaking collection of ancient, tuned percussion from Indonesia is sure to inspire your music. We've recorded 12 different instruments comprising the gamelan, which can be played individually or as part of a customizable ensemble. So what is a gamelan? It's among the oldest known instrument ensembles still played today, and it can be heard in both traditional music and modern film, game, and TV scores. It's most often comprised of resonant, tuned metallic percussion, and each instrument in the ensemble has its own unique design, size, and tuning. Each has its own specific use in a traditional setting, for example, melody, harmony, or accompaniment. We've split the library into two patch types: individual instruments, which offer 3 authentic tunings, and then a master ensemble patch. With this, you can customize any combination of instruments and adjust individual elements. More on the specifics later, but first, let's hear the instrument in action, starting with the ensemble patch and then moving through the single patches. Here we have the main ensemble patch, and the key controls are all in the front panel, making everything accessible and easy to use. The top half of the interface is for selecting and editing the 12 different instruments, while the bottom half is for playback and performance controls. You can click this tab at the bottom to head to the console, effects rack, and mixer with 8 effect slots for each of the 12 instruments, plus a master track. Going back to the main page, by default, all instruments are loaded and active. You can turn each of the individual instruments on and off with the little orange triangles in the corner, or control-click to solo just one. As you do this, you'll see the playable keyboard range at the bottom of the UI change. The entire range, covering all instruments, is colored blue. If you select different instruments for editing, you'll see that single instruments range shown in green. These predefined ranges are our default recommended settings, but of course you can artificially extend or reduce the range of each instrument in the ensemble by dragging the range edit controls here. Or by clicking the MIDI learn icon and then playing a low and high note on your keyboard, you can set the playable range much faster. Also within this edit panel are controls for each individual instrument's MIDI transposition, tuning, and humanization for both volume and timing. These are really helpful for adding a more natural quality to a performance. Also, in a real gamelan, the instruments are tuned slightly differently, which can create an interesting beating effect in the frequencies. Next up, the playback panel. These controls affect the entire ensemble, not just the individual instruments like before. Transpose and pitch bend range are pretty self-explanatory. This button is for inverting your sustain pedal's control, making notes ring out when your pedal is up rather than down. Use the anti-repetition control to play additional round robins pulled from the neighboring sample zones, and the chance knob to increase the probability of this happening. The sample offset dial will push playback further into the samples, but be aware when you do this, you should increase the attack time on the envelope slightly, otherwise you might get clicky attacks. The dynamic filtering control increases low-pass filtering applied at low velocities, giving a mellower tone, and overall this makes the instrument just more, well, dynamic. Velocity curve adjusts the input MIDI velocity table, just like a synth or piano instrument. Just for fun, we've added a tremolo effect that can be switched on here. This makes the gamelan sound a little like a vibraphone with adjustable rate and depth dials, plus switches for mono and stereo, and 2 different LFO shapes. The volume envelope with ADSR shaping is available here, and the mod wheel will also affect the length of the notes. Next up, a quick look at the Perform panel accessible here. We've used a similar panel on some of our other recent instruments, so it might look familiar. Use the harmony controls to configure up to 4-part harmony with the original note you play in additional intervals set by these 3 dials. For more controls, click here where you can also set the volume, detuning, and timing. The intervals that are chosen are set by the scale lock controls. Choose from over 40 different scale types, then set the root key of your composition so that when you play, every note in harmony will conform to that scale. This is very useful for unusual scales used in the music of various cultures. Now it's worth noting that you can use scale lock even without the harmony mode to lock your played notes to an authentic scale. The panel here for microtuning allows you to set a tonic note, then choose microtuning for every other note. There are also presets for different styles of music. Now let's bounce back to the console effects rack, where again you can add up to 8 effects for each of the 12 instruments. And there's also a master channel. Use these effects to transform the standard gamelan into something otherworldly. Lastly, a quick run through the individual instrument patches. There are 12 of these, but we'll start with the gambang as the example. The control panel here will already be familiar with many of the same parameters as the ensemble. There's a console effects panel too. The only real difference are the 3 scale buttons at the top here, allowing you to quickly switch from equal temperament into two other authentic Indonesian scales. So, there you have our Javanese Gamelan, full of inspiring sounds with realistic tuning for Eastern music or traditional Western tuning for modern scoring. Personally, I adore this sound, and it can create some truly interesting textures, harmonies, arpeggios, or even lead parts. So get creative with it and feel free to send us what you create. For more information, audio demos, and to purchase the library, check out the link in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this instrument.